You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Red State Talk Radio. Conservatism, Red State style.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree hugging, hippie, free to be you and me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect just to admit a mistake. We're paying off election.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, good morning, Red State Talk Radio. This is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails, and it is Sunday, February 28th, 2016. Normally, this would be the last day of the month, but it happens to be leap year, so we get one more day in February tomorrow. Speaking of the end of the month, for those of you that are going to be in the Maryland area, I will be at CPAC with some friends of mine. You may know them from the station that I own and run, K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network. JD and Stacy, Lou Esposito, and Dr. Arrington will all be with me at CPAC. I do plan, I know Red State has a booth set up there. I do plan on going by there. I actually didn't get credentials through them because I'm already going to be working for a couple of different stations while I'm there, including my own, and I didn't want to commit to time I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make happen. But I do plan on at least stopping by there. So for those of you who like the show, listen to the show, just if you're going to be in the area, make sure you hang out. There'll be lots of folks from Red State at CPAC along with me, and I will be swinging by their booth at least once or twice to say hi to anybody that might be interested in meeting little old me in person. And we will be there for the whole thing. I'll actually be flying in really early Wednesday morning and not flying back out until really early Sunday morning. And then I have to go back to reality and remember that I do still have a day job, so I'll be right back to work that Monday. Could be fun, provided I survive. I've heard some creepy things about some of the parties at CPAC. No, I'm just playing. But I am looking forward to going. This will be my first time there. I've been to some local conventions and a couple of others that are closer, but I have never been to this one, and I've heard great things, so I look forward to being there and hopefully meeting all of you. Now, since we have not been together for a couple of weeks, there have been a lot of things that have happened in the news while I was out sick. Sadly, I about a week ago got sick enough that I had absolutely almost no voice at all. And everything that I do, whether it's hobby or job or second job, requires that I talk. So by the time I finished job number 1, I didn't really have any type of a voice for hours on end. So it was really hard to do job number 2 or even some of the other hobbies that I do because they all require that I have a voice. So I apologize. You did hear a replay last week when you tuned in. I really don't like to do that to you guys. I mean, every once in a while I'll send over something that I've already done on the network, but that's different. Because there's a good shot you probably haven't heard it. I don't like sending something over that I know that I've sent to you before. And for that, I do want to take a second just to apologize, because if it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't talk, I would have been here, I promise. I hate not talking with you guys every week. And I feel that way about all the networks. I mean, at this point, the show's pretty much all over the place, and I hate sending anybody replays, but I do understand that while we're building it, and it's still smallish, things are going to happen. So just bear with us. I appreciate your patience. Now, with what we're going to actually be talking about today, since I've now already burned up a couple minutes of the show more than I planned on, let's go ahead and start from the beginning, because there was a pretty big happening while I was voiceless, and I figure we might as well at least go ahead and talk about it. I have a little bit of a clip I want to play first, so we're going to get that queued up. And here you go.
Nobody ever proposed evil as such. Neither Hitler nor Lenin nor any other despot you can name ever came forward with a proposal that read, let's create a really oppressive and evil society. Rather, Hitler said, let's take the means necessary to restore our national pride and civic order. And Lenin said, let's take the means necessary to assure a fair distribution of the goods of the world. In short, it is your responsibility, women of the class of 2015, not just to be zealous in the pursuit of your ideals, but to be sure that your ideals are the right ones, not merely in their ends, but in their means. That is perhaps the hardest part of being a good human being. Good intentions are not enough. Being a good person begins with being a wise person. Then, when you follow your conscience, you will be heading in the right direction. Now, this can be very good or very bad advice, depending on who you think you are. Indeed, follow your star if you want to head north, and it's the North Star. But if you want to head north and it's Mars, you had better follow somebody else's star. Indeed, never compromise your principles unless, of course, your principles are Adolf Hitler's. In which case, you would be well advised to compromise them as much as you can. And indeed, to thine own self be true, depending on who you think you are. It is a belief today that seems particularly to beset modern society, that believing deeply in something, following that belief, is the most important thing a person can do. Get out there and picket, or boycott, or electioneer, or whatever. Show yourself to be a, quote, committed person. That is the fashionable phrase. I am here to tell you that it is much less important how committed you are than what you are committed to. If I had to choose, I would always take the less dynamic, indeed even the lazy person who knows what's right, rather than the zealot in the cause of error. He may move slower, but he's headed in the right direction.
All right, so in case you're wondering, that was Justice Antonin Scalia in one of his last public speaking engagements. And there were a lot of things that were important there, and I think some of them actually correlate to what's going on today because, like he said, it's not so much that you're committed, but what it is that you're committed to. And there have been lots of breaking stories in the news about folks that are now aligning themselves with Trump, distancing themselves from Trump. There's now a Twitter storm going on with a hashtag #NeverTrump that has been trending now for I know I hadn't looked yet today because it's too early. I have no Twitter yet. But yesterday, right before I went on the air with Finding Common Ground, it was still trending, and it was up to 226,000 tweets, I think, at last count when I looked. I'll have to look after the show's over and see if we're still trending it because I hadn't actually looked yet today. But anyway, and yes, I said we because I'm actually involved in that. I'm sorry if that hurt some of your feelings. I'm not telling you who it is that you need to vote for or you should vote for. I'm just telling you who I can't vote for, and that is Donald Trump. And we'll actually get into that a little bit later with some detailed explanations as to why and some clips that kind of help support why it is that I've made that decision. And again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you that I will not talk to you if you vote for him. I'm not telling you that we can no longer be friends. I'm not telling you we can't hang out. Look, that's the point of conservatism. We are supposed to have the ability to disagree and yet still come together. The only problem that I have is there are too many on the other side of the argument when it comes to Trump that don't want to come together anymore. They don't want to see the negatives. And let's face it, folks, the negatives far outweigh the positives. And if you're not looking at that, then you're not paying attention, because much like this situation with Scalia was a big surprise, nobody expected it. Now we've got all this controversy about whether or not Obama is going to be able to appoint a judicial nominee for the Supreme Court before the end of his term. You know, never mind the fact that the left, the whole time a Republican has been in office, were always like, even 18, 19 months before the election cycle was even anywhere near complete, they were like, nope, not going to happen, not going to do it, not going to confirm anybody, it needs to be America's choice. But now the shoe's on the other foot, and they're like, oh, we got to get it done. It's the president's constitutional authority to get it done. No, it's the president's constitutional authority to make the appointment. It's the Senate's constitutional authority as to whether or not they amend, approve, or make suggestions. And there is my problem. We keep acting like the executive branch is the one with all the power. We're supposed to have checks and balances. The problem is, with folks like Obama, and now probably, unfortunately, about to be Trump, the executive branch will have all of the power because they don't understand how the rules work, nor do they care. Obama's never followed the rules, except for the first term when he thought he was handcuffed, and he had to, going around telling everybody, I can't do this because I'm not an emperor, I can't do this because I'm not a king. Second term, all of that changed. Everything he said he couldn't do with a pen and phone, he did with a pen and a phone. And if you think Trump's going to be any different, then you're just not paying attention to what he's telling you right now. And that's the same thing that we were talking about to the other side when they got all worked up and in a frenzy over Obama. You're not listening to what he's telling you. He's telling you everything that he's going to do and how he's going to do it, but all you're hearing is that he's going to take care of you. I don't need a president to take care of me. Do you honestly need a president to take care of you? I need a president that will do his job. I need a president that will put people before pride, and I need a president that will put country before ego and country before self. And I don't think Donald Trump can be the one to do that. If I'm wrong, then I will eat my hat. I'm not going to lie, folks, because at this point, I'm pretty sure no matter how hard a lot of us try, he's probably going to be the one to get the general. I have to tell you, I don't think he's going to survive the general. The media is doing exactly what they have done now for years and cycles with the presidential elections. They're propping up the one that they think is going to be the easiest one to destroy. They make him look unstoppable to anybody that's buying into the hype. But what you don't realize is a man like Donald Trump has bodies and skeletons everywhere. And I guarantee you the media knows where every single one of them are. And if he makes it to the general, they will eviscerate him. Will he survive it? I don't know. At this point, I don't know whether it's going to be better for the country if he does or he doesn't. What I don't understand is for the last several election cycles, because I supported Romney and I supported McCain and I held my nose and I did what I thought was right, I was called a neocon. Because I wasn't supporting the most conservative candidate and I wasn't sticking to my principles. And now I am doing that, and now I'm still being called names. And what I don't understand, because here's the thing, folks, I cannot pull the lever for Trump. I can't say that enough. Doesn't matter if it's the primary, doesn't matter if it's the general. Pardon me. It's never going to happen. It can't. He's the antithesis of everything that I believe that the president should stand for. And he is blatantly the antithesis of everything that I believe the president should stand for. Everything is going to be great. It's going to be huge. There's no specifics. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and change gears since we switched over to Trump. We're going to go ahead and play just a few minutes of the debate. Well, I say a few minutes. It'll probably only be about a minute or so. Just enough for you to get the flavor of the back and forth that was going on between Trump and Cruz and Rubio in the last debate. What was it? Thursday night, I think.
For example, you're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers from Poland.
I'm the only one on the stage that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody.
Well, in fact, some of the people
and by the way,
but hold on.
I've hired tens of thousands of people over my job. You've hired
1,000 people
You've
from
had
another
nothing
company,
but problems
from another
with your
country.
credit cards, etc.
Let me
so
say. Let me finish the statement. This is important.
You haven't hired one
He
person
hired
in your life.
workers from Poland, and he had to pay $1 million or so in a judgment
That's wrong.
for hiring.
That's wrong.
That's a fact.
Totally wrong.
Well, people can look it up. I'm sure people are Googling it right now. Look it up. Trump Polish workers. You'll see $1 million for hiring illegal workers on one of his projects. Yeah, he did.
You know, it's interesting.
That happened.
I've hired tens of thousands of people over my lifetime.
Many from other countries instead of hiring Americans.
Be quiet. Let me talk. I've hired tens of thousands of people. He brings up something from 30 years ago. It worked out very well. Everybody was happy.
Paid $1 million.
And by the way, the laws were totally different. That was a whole different world.
Thank you.
But I've hired people. Nobody up here has hired
Senator Cruz.
If he builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it.
All right, so that's enough of that. It actually goes on for several more minutes. It's a nice little back and forth between Trump, Rubio, and Cruz. I have to say, I'm wondering where this Rubio has been for the election cycle up until now, because this is the Rubio we needed to see, and I don't say that lightly. I don't necessarily like it when the debates get like this, but with the way Donald Trump is playing, somebody has to punch back. And I know Cruz has been doing a pretty good job of it, and maybe we've just gotten so used to seeing Cruz take him on toe-to-toe that maybe it's not standing out as much now that Marco's doing it too. But it was nice to see somebody actually get some shots on the guy. I mean, if you watch that debate, halfway through that exchange, he started looking more like John Boehner than Donald Trump. I mean, he was literally starting to turn orange. I mean, think about how angry he was up there. Let that sink in for a second. Just think about how angry he was during that exchange. And look, I understand that people get angry. I understand that it's an emotional response and everybody's going to do it. But when you can neither contain nor control your anger, which was blatantly obvious during that debate, we're going to have a problem. Do you really want that guy to have his finger on the button? Do you really want that guy to have his finger on the button? Is that who we need to have in charge of our diplomacy? I've heard this guy compared to John Wayne. John Wayne would probably punch each of you in the face that is saying that about him if he were alive. The guy is nowhere near John Wayne. I mean, it's a joke. This entire election cycle has turned into a joke. We, as conservatives, had the chance to actually put up someone who typifies our values, who shows a clear, distinct difference between the parties. We had the chance to do that. This was our election to lose because for 8 years we have watched the country get rammed down the toilet. And the best we can do is Donald Trump? Are you kidding me? The best we can do is Donald Trump? And I know this is nowhere near over. And I'm not trying to sound pessimistic, and I'm not saying that it's done. But I have to tell you, the media wants it to be done. And most of you that are supporting Trump, you've gotten so used to getting your news in sound bites and having it spoon-fed for you that you don't do any research of your own. Please, I'm not trying to say that to insult you. I'm trying to be honest with you because it's human nature. We have all fallen into the trap of a minute and 45 seconds and your TV dinner's ready and everything's wrapped up in a nice tight bow on a TV show in 55 minutes. Nobody's used to doing the long haul work anymore. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just a fact. And the simple fact of the matter is, if you keep letting the media tell you what you should believe, you're going to lose in more ways than one. The media doesn't care about you any more than the government does. But if you honestly think that a guy that has been in the middle of it and buying politicians and currying favors and buying more politicians and currying more favors isn't just as much a politician as the rest of them, then you are deluding yourself. Can we please just put someone up that actually typifies our values? Because Donald Trump does not typify, to me, what a conservative should be. Which is why, if you'll notice, all he says is, I have lots of conservative ideas. I have lots of conservative friends. And I think I would make a great Republican president. It'll be huge. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. That's pretty much all he says. No specifics on anything. Talks about how the only way that we could fix Obamacare is to get rid of the lines, as he calls them, between states. Never mind the fact that they're called borders. Never mind the fact that apparently he has now misspelled the name of the city that he's coming to in my state, the one that I used to live in, now not once but twice. Never mind the fact that his Twitter account is completely rife with spelling errors, or it was until he started trying to take them down, while he's telling everybody what a great leader he is and what a high IQ he has. Let me tell you one thing about people that I know with high IQs, because I know several. They don't go around telling everybody how high their IQ is. They don't drop a number like it's nothing. They don't start, well, I'm the highest IQ person in the room. Unless they're in a room with a bunch of other high IQ people, they don't do that. Now, if they're in a room with a bunch of other high IQ people, they start flopping that thing out. But yeah, I'm 162. What are you, man? Or yeah, I'm 149. That's what they do when they're in rooms with each other. But when they're not, they don't talk about their IQs. They don't have to. They have nothing to prove. I have friends that are members of Mensa. When you already have the IQ and you have the business acumen and you know what it is that you're doing, you don't have anything to prove. So why is Donald Trump going around so busily trying to prove everything to everybody about how great and how huge and how wonderful it's all going to be when he's not giving anything specific? That's the one thing that Marco Rubio kept getting right the other night. He kept saying over and over again, all we want are specifics. Where are the specifics? What is your plan? Let me tell you something that I know after spending a lot of my life running businesses firsthand. The folks that are typically at the reins of the businesses, they're not really the details guys. We're the guys that come into a room, we map out an idea, we put the framework together, and then we put a team around us that can do the rest of it. That's Donald Trump. That can't be who the president is. Because the president has to be able to articulate policy, plans, and what it is that he wants to be able to do. Now, should he have people advising him as to what those plans are going to be? Yes, by all means. But he has to be able to articulate them. But the one thing that I keep hearing over and over again is how great it is that he's not giving anybody any specifics, because if he makes it to the general, he's going to be able to go left, right, or stay center, and nobody's going to be able to call him on anything because he didn't give anybody any specifics. You know how many talking heads in the media right now I hear over and over again touting this guy because he's not giving anybody any ammunition? They don't need to have any ammunition about his policies. Look at his life choices. He's going to get owned. All right, it is about time for us to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I've noticed I've got a little message light blinking here. Like I said, I've been out of commission now for a few days, so I'm pretty sure I have a message or two that we'll need to get to when we get back. But as of right now, it is about time for us to go ahead and take a break. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome
to Red State Talk Radio. Conservatism, Red State style. Red State Talk Radio. Talk radio the way the Founding Fathers would have done it.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
Red State Talk Radio. Conservatism, Red State style.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. Good morning, Red State. It's about halfway through the show at this point, so I hope you're starting to wake up with me. Now, let's get back to the show here. Now, as promised, I told you, I have a new source. I know you guys have probably heard about it by now, but I'm pretty sure I have a message from them here. I just got to get everything queued up and ready to go because, you know, it's just been one of those weeks. I have some stuff that I needed to get to, and it looks like one of the first things I need to do is actually check some messages. So we're just going to go ahead and do that right now live on the air.
Please enter your password, then press pound. message. You have 13 saved voice messages. First voice message.
Hey, Rick. It's me, Hillary Silver. I just wanted to make sure that you're all right. I sent you a message about a week or so ago, and I haven't really heard anything from you. I'm just calling to touch base and make sure you got the messages. And one thing, I listened to the show, and I appreciate the fact that you're helping me get the word out about what a crazy woman that Hillary is. But I have one point of order. You said that my source name for you was Deep Throat. Just remember, I'm Hillary Silver, not Monica's. That really doesn't work. Anyway, I hope you've checked your email. I have to go. They're coming. I gotta go. Check your email. Let me know what you think. Bye.
All right, so you heard it first. Let's get the email open. Okay, so here's the first one. From hdr@clintonmail.com to Uma Abedin. Subject, what the hell is happening? Uma, what in the world is going on out there on the trail? It wasn't supposed to be this hard. When I said yes to running and Debbie Wasserman agreed to run interference for us, I was under the impression that it would be a cakewalk. This is my moment, and I'm not going to allow that old geezer to steal my spotlight. I suggest you meet with the team and figure out how to make America fall in love with me. Now, kisses, Hill. Falling in love with Hillary. Come on, Hill, it didn't work for Bill. Yeah. From hdr@clintonmail.com to Brian Fallon, campaign press secretary. Subject, criminal justice system tweet. Bri, how is my latest tweet doing? The one about me fixing the criminal justice system? How many retweets? Do you think they're buying my BS? On a serious note, though, I'm going to really try to work with the Democrats in the Senate to get some legislation passed so that if you, me, or any other members of the staff have to spend any time behind bars due to my poor judgment on the email server, we'll at least be as comfortable as we can be. If they do somehow convict me, I'm going to request a prison that is on par with the Plaza. I don't think that's too much to ask. Give me some feedback. Thanks. Hill. And the next one, from hdr@clintonmail.com to Robbie Mook. Subject, pandering to black community. Rob, is it really necessary for me to have to suck up to the black leaders, pastors, and community? You know how it makes my skin crawl being around these people? Can we win this thing without their overwhelming support? I'm just really hoping there's another way around this. I don't mind pandering, you know that. The only thing I know how to do. But they're just one group. I'd rather avoid them. Didn't Bill do enough for them in the 90s? I feel like they owe me. Hey, how about this? Can we get a lookalike to do my butt kissing to the black people for me? I really think the team should entertain this idea. We could get that girl from Saturday Night Live to do it. Blacks don't watch SNL, do they? Put it on the agenda for tomorrow's meeting. Thanks. The real Hillary, or is it? From hdr@clintonmail.com to Chelsea. Subject, last night's debate. Sunshine, tell me what you think of this. Since these first two states haven't gone as smooth as I'd hoped, what if I publicly challenge Bernie to a coin tosses for each of the remaining states? Winner take all on the state's delegates. With no do-overs and no calling interference. My record is 6-0 on these, and I think it might be a brilliant way to get around that stupid trust issue those idiot voters seem to have been hung up on. Wasserman will do whatever I tell her. Thoughts? Love, Mom. All right, folks, so there you have the latest installment, a little bit behind schedule thanks to my illness, from our source, Hillary's server. Hopefully, they will get us some new information next week, and I guess I have to come up with a new code name because apparently he was offended at being called Deep Throat. But he does have a point. He's Hillary's server. It does kind of make sense. Anyway, folks, there you have it. Thanks again to Eric Williams from barbedwiresatire.com for putting together the funny emails and for helping me get this segment going. All right, folks, so there you have it. Again, that was satirical emails provided by one Mr. Eric Williams of barbedwiresatire.com. If you haven't been to the site yet, I do encourage that you go there. He is now actually a staple for Spark Radio Network, there is now a segment that we do here, usually once a week, highlighting some funny jabs about the Hillary server situation. Also, he does a weekend update on JD and Stacy's show that they run on Sundays, Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. If you haven't checked them out, I do encourage you to do that as well. Now, at this point, we do still have a lot of stuff to talk about because there was... Well, the media was terming it as a surprise announcement. I gotta say, it didn't really surprise me very much. But I gotta say, when I heard about it, I was actually in the middle of my day job and had to take a moment, compose myself, because for about a minute and a half, I was cussing like a sailor. Since this show does occasionally go out over FCC-regulated areas, I'm not gonna share with you the words that I was using, but I'm sure you can imagine. Now, we're going to talk about it from both sides of the argument here, because the issue that I have with all of it is, there was a time when this person who has now made the announcement to support Trump was not always a fan of Trump's. But that's not what he said yesterday. But let's back things up just a little bit here, shall we?
For the 55-year-old construction worker out in that audience tonight who doesn't have a job, who can't fund his child's education, I got to tell you the truth. They could care less about your careers. They care about theirs. Let's start talking about that on this stage and stop playing the games. John, I'm not done yet, John.
A track record of leadership is not a game. It is the issue in this election.
Carly, listen. You can interrupt everybody on the stage. You can't interrupt me. Okay? The fact is that we don't want to hear about your careers. Back and forth and volleying back and forth about who did well and who did poorly. You're both successful people. Congratulations. You know who's not successful? The middle class in this country who's getting plowed over by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Plowed over by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. I wouldn't dare to add Trump to the list if given the opportunity. But, Mr. Trump isn't fit to be president, not sure why everybody's voting for him, not sure what they're thinking, has now done this.
Okay, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am proud to be here to endorse Donald Trump for President of the United States. I'm doing this for a number of reasons. First is that Donald and I, along with Melania and Mary Pat, have been friends for over a decade. He has been a good and loyal friend to our family, as we have been to he and his family. And over the years, we've had a lot of wonderful times together, done a lot of good together for not only the people of the state of New Jersey, but for many charities that we've worked with and on together. And I absolutely appreciate him as a person and as a friend. Secondly, I've been on that stage. I've gotten to know all the people on that stage. And there is no one who is better prepared to provide America with the strong leadership that it needs, both at home and around the world, than Donald Trump. He is, looking at the five people on that stage last night, the clear standout and the person who will do exactly what needs to be done to make America a leader around the world again. He'll provide strong, unequivocal leadership. He will do what needs to be done to protect the American people, first and foremost, both in the homeland and in creating jobs for this country. And he will make sure that people around the world know that America keeps its word again. Donald Trump is someone who, when he makes a promise, he keeps it. I've experienced that over my long friendship with him. And what the American people and our allies around the world are going to understand is that Donald Trump is someone who keeps his word, and that means America will keep its word again. Third, there is no doubt in my mind, and I've been saying this right from the time I entered the campaign, that the single most important thing for the Republican Party is to nominate the person who gives us the best chance to beat Hillary Clinton. I can guarantee you that the one person that Hillary and Bill Clinton do not want to see on that stage come next September is Donald Trump. They know how to run the standard political...
Okay, I can't listen to him anymore. Are you kidding me? That's the person they want on the stage the most because they already know that the media is going to help them take him apart. Okay, I'm going to steal something from a friend of mine, so JR, I got to give you a shout-out for this one. About the same time the announcement was made, I was at work, so I couldn't say too much about it. However, a friend of mine actually tweeted out, F Chris Christie and the donut that he rode in on. I have to agree with that statement completely. Of course, they didn't say F, but, I try to regulate things over here as much as I can. because you never know where this show is going to wind up, because there's even places that it runs that I'm just now starting to find out about. They haven't even asked me for permission, and I found out that I'm running in several different places. So considering I never really know who's listening or where the audience is going to be at any given time, I always try to make sure I regulate things as much as I can. Mainly because also, again, we are supposed to be conservative, so I do try to monitor my language at least a little bit. I don't always do that for the other folks that are on my networks, because, we are not FCC regulated, but I do hold myself to a standard. I'm not. I don't have an issue with free speech, though, however, either. But that being said, yesterday was not one of those days for me, I have to tell you. I actually tweeted directly to Chris Christie on a break, and it was not pretty. I'm just saying. Pretty much an exact paraphrase of the quote is, you donut munching, Twinkie scarfing, ding-dong guzzling slime ball. Pretty much. And then it got worse from there. Because that's exactly how I feel about Chris Christie. How do you, on one hand, tell everybody how he's not fit to be president and he's not presidential? I mean, that's all over the place. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, Donald Trump for president. Donald Trump for preezy, baby. Let's rock it. Really? Are you kidding me? Look, dude, one of two things has happened. Either he knows where you've got some bodies buried, or he's promised you a position in his cabinet. And either way, as far as I'm concerned, you have now relegated yourself back to obscurity. Because you are both Northeastern liberals pretending to be conservatives, and I'm done with you. This is the thing I don't understand about this whole movement. Because remember back in the beginning of the show when I was talking about how, because I voted for Romney and I voted for McCain, then I was a neocon. What is up with you neoliberals? Another shout out to a Twitter friend, you know who you are. Because I didn't come up with that, you did, but at the same time it's a great concept, because that's exactly what they are. They're neolibs. They're basically liberals who don't necessarily want to be liberals, because all they're chasing right now is the win. Because a W is a W is a W is a W. Except when it's Donald Trump, because that's not going to be a W. We're all going to die. I mean, literally, we're probably going to glow in the dark within 2 years. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I mean, I know it's not going to be good, but let me tell you a theory that's kind of been being battered around in the circles that I live in and hang around in. If Donald Trump actually gets the nomination and somehow, by some miracle, manages to survive the general election, which I don't see happening, but stranger things have happened, I'm pretty sure that at least for the first 4 years, we're probably going to be okay. And let me tell you why I say that. Because he is someone who cannot put ego on the back burner. He can't put himself in second place, which is why he'll never be anybody's vice presidential candidate, much less a good leader, unless he pretends to be one. So let me give you a little theory that's been kind of percolating through my circles. The first 4 years, if he gets elected, will probably be all right, because the main thing that Donald Trump wants is to be worshipped and revered. Now, that means that at least for the first part of that 4-year term, he's going to do everything that he can to emulate Reagan, because that's who everyone is comparing him to. So if he gets the chance, he will probably, at least for the first part of his term, act as much like Reagan as he can. The problem with that is, remember, this is the guy who cannot put himself in second place. So at some point, someone somewhere is going to do something to irritate him, and he's going to come at them guns blazing. He is already threatening to sue newspapers for writing unfavorable articles. Never mind the fact that they're he didn't say because they're not true. He just said they're not favorable, so I'm going to start suing them for attacking me. And this is something that I want to get out to all of the Trump supporters and Trump fans out there, because I think you're missing something somewhere. There was a life lesson I learned once, and it was taught to me by a little green guy on Star Wars. And with all of the anger and all the venom and everything that is circulating inside the Trump camp, around the Trump camp, through the Trump camp, I just want to remind you of something here.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I sense much fear in you.
That's exactly how I feel about the most vocal Trump supporters out there. And I'm not saying that you're all that way, but a lot of you are reacting out of fear. Fear of what the immigrants are going to do to the country, fear of what Muslims are going to do to the country. Look, I agree with you on some things, but you guys have taken things to a very, very, very extreme, very dark place. And it's not somewhere that we as America need to be. And I submit to you that if you guys keep giving into your fear, exactly what just was outlined in that little 14-second snippet is what's going to happen. And I've been telling you guys this for years. If we allow ourselves to give in to our darker impulses as a nation, when we do, and we're getting perilously close, when we do, we will make Nazi Germany look like a bunch of Girl Scouts. And we're really close. I don't think any of you understand exactly how close we are. Take a look. Just take 5 minutes. 5 minutes a couple times a week and go through Donald Trump's followers on his Twitter account. You know how many of them are neo-Nazi skinheads? You know how many of them are racists? And you're aligning yourself with this guy because he's telling you things that you want to hear, because you think he's the only one that can fix the country? By God, he's telling you he's going to bring jobs back to America. He doesn't even have his own suits made here. The ties he wears are made in Mexico. The suits he wears are made in Mexico. Most of his plants are in China. Do you honestly think that a guy that has been neck deep in business his entire life is going to do anything to screw anything up for his friends? If you honestly think that man is going to do anything to improve the manufacturing that is really no longer a part of this country, unless it's a foreign country coming here, because there are at least a couple countries where our regulations are better than theirs, mainly Japan, because they're completely overregulated. So they have a lot of plants here. So there's Americans now working in Japanese plants on American soil building Japanese vehicles. Let that sink in for just a second about how screwed up our economy has gotten. But you honestly want to tell me that you think Donald Trump is going to be the one to fix that? I hate to tell you this, but you are deluding yourself. He's not going to do anything about the tax code because he doesn't need to, because all of his friends know how to work the system. He doesn't care about you. He's not going to do anything to improve business because he doesn't need to. All he has to do is make a couple of minor changes to give things the perspective of moving in the right direction, and then you guys are all going to fall at his feet and worship him for the next 4 years. Which is exactly what he's counting on, because he's not doing this for any of you. He's doing this to stroke his ego. The ego that could, by all accounts, eat Manhattan if given the opportunity. Zan. And I mean, it's not just him, folks. I think the reason that so many of us are afraid of what's going on and afraid of what's going to happen for the country is because it's not just him. I mean, folks like Ann Coulter, who I have to admit, I actually admired once. I really don't anymore. But she's gone completely off the deep end. Completely off the deep end. And completely is now in Trump's camp. And it's just crazy. I listened to Michael Savage, who you might notice gives me a shout out at the beginning of my intro. I listened to him for about 10 minutes last night while I was driving with my son to go get dinner because the wife hasn't been feeling well, so we decided to do takeout. Well, we live out in the middle of nowhere now, so I guess honestly I kind of listened to him for probably about 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. You know what he was doing the entire time? Extolling the virtues of Trump. Telling everybody how he was the one that knew months ago that Trump was going to be the one to win the primary, Trump was going to be the one to win the general, and he was going to be the next president of the United States, and everybody better get in line and fall in lockstep. No, he didn't use those exact words, but he might as well have. Interesting concept if you understand his background. And that's what's scary, folks. He literally is the Pied Piper of the Republican Party. And I've actually put a bit about that together, but I'm afraid I'm not allowed to play it here because of ASCAP BMI rules. You can check it out on my home station and also on a bit that we did over on WNJC. So it is available for your listening pleasure should you choose to. I'd actually thought about it. I even had it queued up, and then I remembered that they have different rules over here, so I can't always play some of the stuff that I can play elsewhere. So unfortunately, you will not be able to hear it today, but it's a pretty entertaining little bit just to kind of give you an idea of basically what I'm getting at here, is the guy can basically say anything he wants to, and he has. He's threatened people. He's blackmailed people on open timelines on Twitter. He's told people that if they don't get in line or get behind him, he's going to run them over, and everybody cheers for him. And this is the part I don't understand, because, you know, like Romney or hate Romney in 2012, he is probably one of the most genuinely good people that I know, and behaves as a genuinely good person. Does things without anybody needing to know that it was him. Does things behind the scenes for people that they never even know he did. That's the type of people that a lot of us are. We don't do things looking for accolades and attaboys and good jobs. I mean, I don't do any of this expecting to ever get famous or get rich. All I want to be able to do is do it full time enough to be able to pay my bills. I don't want to be the next Sean Hannity or the next Rush Limbaugh or even the next Michael Savage. I don't. Other people on my team want to be, and I'm good with helping them get there. As long as I can carve out enough where I can pay my bills, then I'm good with anybody else that's with me going as far as they want to go. I don't want to be that guy because it's crazy. Because it turns into this thing where, and this is just the bottom line point of it, because if you've listened to these guys for as long as I've listened to them, you've watched them morph and change over the years, and it's insane. Rush Limbaugh was a hero of mine, and now there are times when I can't stand to listen to him talk. Sean Hannity was one of the first ones that I started listening to other than Rush Limbaugh, and now half the time I can't stand to hear him talk. And now all of these little snippets are coming out about the fact that he's basically been the one behind the scenes grooming Trump since 2011. And there's all these rumors floating around about his real motivations for doing that. But that's the thing that we need to understand, folks. If people like that and people like Chris Christie are now all of a sudden endorsing Donald Trump and extolling Donald Trump and pushing Donald Trump on you, you really need to look to find out what their motivations are. Because I guarantee you, they have motivations. It really is about that simple. They seriously have some sort of motivation. And we need to figure out what it is. And with Christie, I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Donald Trump has some dirt on him somewhere. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. But I do know that he has some dirt on him somewhere. And it really is about that simple. All right, so as a reminder, we will be at CPAC pretty much all next week from Wednesday through Saturday night. We will be there. I'll be working with WNJC, K98 Talk. I will even at some point make sure that I make a couple of trips over to where Red State is located in case any of you do want to stop by and say hello. I do encourage you, if you are going to be in the area, to make sure that you do stop by. I do know for a fact that Red State will have a booth. I believe they actually are going to be having a table there. I know that there will be some books and some other merchandise that will be for sale that will be attached to the table, but I do know that they will have a table there as well. Again, I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that take the time to tune in every day, whether you're listening on any of the networks that run me or this one particularly, or even through places like iHeart, Stitcher, FM Player, or all the other places that the show can be found. Again, I'm crazy enough that I would do this with or without you, but it's great knowing that so many of you do enjoy listening. And I will be back with you again next week. My oh my, where has the hour gone? I'm Rick Robinson. This is America Off the Rails. Be back with you next week, Red State. Don't forget, you can always come hang out with me on Talk as well. 5 nights a week. Yeah, I'm just about that crazy. Have a great day, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
We're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait. A family hub. Yeah!
No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.